One of the more difficult subject manipulation will be when we involve a square root or a square. So you need to learn how to manipulate around square root or square. So they are usually the opposite of each other. So what do I mean by the opposite of each other? So for example, A is, if you look at part A, you got a huge square root. So what is the technique to remove the square root? The technique to remove the square root is to square both sides. So you are squaring both sides. So if I go for the squaring both sides, it looks like this. So the squaring will effectively remove the huge square root. So right now with no square root, you go back to your method of cross multiply. Okay, so this one looks a bit complex. So before you cross multiply, take note of your subject. You realize your subject is in numerator and denominator. So usually in such a case, after cross multiply, there's a bit of reshuffling, there's a bit of take out common factor. So for example, like this. Like this. Okay, so take note, where is your subject first? Your subject is here. One of them is in the bracket, the other one is on the right side. So go and open up. So look at your subject. One on the left, one on the right. So usually we will shift the subject to the left. Okay, so I have this habit. If this one comes with a minus, I might want to shift it to the right. So I might want to shift it to the right. So to me, it looks neater. So, and my subject is still there. So you reshuffle this to the left. So both my subject are on the right side now. I can swap the position. So I can swap everything here to here. So I swap it around. I just do a direct swapping. The left become right, the right become left. Then I still take note of my subject. So hopefully you can see. So if the subject is like this, I should do a take out common factor. Now my subject is multiplied to a bracket. So I should divide over. So you can leave the answer like this, or if you realize that there is a common factor in the numerator, go ahead. There is a common factor in the denominator, you can also go ahead. So C is your subject. And you shouldn't find any C here. So that's layer up. If you look right, I need to do a squaring on both sides. Subsequently, depends on the complexity of the expression. Even after your cross multiplication, it looks very complex. So you got to learn to stay focused. They can give you a lot of algebra to confuse you. So the next one, right? The subject is X. So they say express X in terms of PQY. So some of you may not understand the meaning. So that means X is equal to all the P, Q, and Y are inside. So it's as good as making X the subject because you're not supposed to have X. You can only have PQY. You can have numbers of PQY. So it is the same idea as making X the subject. So this time around, the X is kind of hidden in a square. So some of you may have thought of, do I go and expand out? The answer is no. Sometimes you need to expand, sometimes you don't need. So in this case, right, my subject is hidden in the square. So I'm going to square root. So I'm going to throw the square over. So it will give you a square root. Okay, again, where is your subject? Your subject is here. So you can slowly bring things over first. Then you realize that your subject is on the right side. So you can do a direct flip over. So I always do that. So PX is on the right side. I just flip over to the left. Switch your position. One last step, you realize that your subject is multiplied to P. So you divide the P over. So you divide the P over. This is your subject. And your PQY is here. You realize that you got no X. Instead, you got your PQY. So that's how we handle square and square root. These are the more difficult one.